And officially, we are live with Wanda, Diaz, Merced. And Wanda is not only a wonderful astronomer, an astrophysicist, space hero, but Wanda is also a wonderful friend of ours here in South Africa. And we love spending time with Wanda. So Wanda, welcome to this interview. And thank you so much for giving of your time.
Thank you, Steve, for inviting me back to my home, South Africa. Woof, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Woof.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I can see we already have some viewers that have joined the live view. So now, Wanda, what I do want to say is that we're going to be trying an exercise with you because you can't see us since you are blind. And then we felt that what we should do is then we shouldn't be able to see you. And today we're going to try and use our ears to test our listening skills throughout instead of relying on the visual. Are you okay with that?
I think that's fair. Talking about justice, I think that's fair. Yes, I like it.
Awesome, brilliant. Okay, so Wanda, we're going to start right at the beginning. I want to go back, I think it was only about, 19, 20 years ago when you were born. And
I love
something like that. And I mean, you obviously were at school. You had a lot of things going for you. Where did you grow up?
Yes.
What did you study?
I grew up in Puerto Rico, in a very rural. Is that a word, Steve? Rural?
Yes,
rural town
it is.
Called Gurabo. That is spelled Gurab as in ball O. So I grew up there. I grew up in what was an informal settlement. First it was an informal settlement, and then my family and the people in the settlement, they organized each other. I mean, they organized among themselves and fought a lot in order to get the government to sell the land at a very affordable price. So then it is. I grew up there, and it is about many moons later that we are getting to be owners of our own land, and we are very happy.
Wow.
We are very happy about that. It was a big fight. My father went to jail. Because of the struggle, right? People that were living in the settlement, they were taken to jail, and because he was the head of the household, they wouldn't take me because I was a child. They wouldn't take my mom because she was taking care of me and my sister, and we were both disabled. But they took my dad. So we are very happy of that outcome. I went to school there, and I went to elementary, middle, and high school in Puerto Rico, and also began my university studies in Puerto Rico. You
mentioned that someone else was disabled in your home. Who was that?
My sister.
What's wrong with your sister?
My sister, she's orthopedically impaired. It means that her mobility is impaired. It means that she cannot move easily, so she needs a lot of help. She was playing and she fell. It was like when you're just playing around like a child, and the children listening, they are familiarized with the way children run and jump and happily celebrate. And she fell from her own feet, and her two thighs detached from her legs, and she couldn't walk. She couldn't walk well any longer. So my mom had to take care of the two of us. She was bed confined for most of her life. It has been until recently that she is able to use a special equipment that was given to her to walk, and that's good. That's fantastic, don't you think? Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal. But I mean, so your parents didn't have it very easy when you were growing up.
We didn't have it easy, but we didn't notice. It's like
When you're in it, you don't notice it. I get it.
Exactly. Well, we don't notice. We didn't have anyone we never compared with anyone else. Access to TV was scarce, and whenever watching TV, people were they were different, but we didn't care about that. So and that I have from South Africa too, that we don't care about the differences, and I love that.
Well, that is phenomenal. Now, when you said there were 2 disabled people in your family, when did you develop your disability? Because you were not born blind, or were you born blind?
No, I was not born blind. I'm diabetic since I was a child, since I was 7 years old. And when I was 21, oh, I'm telling you my age. Look at me.
But that was only last year, so we understand.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so later I was diagnosed with an eye condition called degenerative chronic diabetic retinopathy. It means that a membrane in your eye called the retina that processes light changes is beginning to deteriorate. So my eyes were not able to process light changes. And then later, that membrane that processes light changes detached completely from my eye. And so as I'm not able to process light changes, I'm totally blind.
Wow. And so when did that officially become, I mean, is there like a percentage that you are officially blind, or?
Well, one eye is completely blind. I can't see through my left eye. My right eye, I have 5% side vision. It means that the center of the visual field is darkened. Imagine, how do I tell? Imagine that you're looking at something, that just put your thumb in front of your eye, very close to your eye, and what you will see very close to your eye, in front of your face, but also on top of your, don't touch your eyeball, don't do that.
No, I won't.
No,
Okay, I've got it.
But what the center will be darkened, and then through the side you're getting some light. In my case, what you get is only light. So for example, if there is daylight or nighttime, I will notice. For the next solar eclipse, which I hope the kids will, or the participants will get to enjoy online, because it will not be visible. The path of totality will not go over South Africa. That during that eclipse, you will get a time when the center of the sun is completely darkened and you will only see the corona. So it's similar to that. And I hope the kids to get to connect online and see it. Yes. Sorry.
Well, absolutely. But now, obviously, being involved in space, do you feel that you're missing out, that you don't get to see those sorts of things?
Never. No. It was my responsibility to make it possible. See? When I noticed that I didn't have access to the same amount and quality of information my collaborators had, I said, nah, this is not going to happen. I'm going after this because this is where I want to be. They were also very welcoming, but my personal philosophy is that if I want to be here, it is up to me. Whoever doesn't want me here have a problem. That person has to become my friend, because this is where I want to be. So what I did is that I began working on how to make this knowledge accessible to Wanda, so I can do the science, so I can work at the same quality and the same speed that my collaborators work. And so far, so good. No one has asked me to leave yet.
I like that. But now, what did you actually study at university?
I studied, my bachelor's was in physics. So that is when I lost my sight, I was doing my bachelor's. Then I did my master's in physics as well. I did a master's in physics at the University of Puerto Rico. And then I transferred to the University of Massachusetts in Boston, where I completed. I couldn't pay for it. I completed a PhD in astrophysics, analyzing gamma ray bursts, but I couldn't pay for it, so I don't have the transcript. Now I went to Glasgow, to the University of Glasgow. My mentor was very smart, and he said, "Go to Glasgow, and they will give you a grant." He arranged everything for me. I have mentors are very important.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me to Glasgow. And in Glasgow, I did a multidisciplinary, so that is many academic disciplines united in one. I did a multidisciplinary degree in computer science and astrophysics. And what I did was that while I was analyzing my data and doing my astrophysics science, I was also developing tools to make this knowledge available to anyone who wants to do it.
Wow. I mean, look, I'm always blown away because A, I'm a big space fan, and B, I love the fact that, you know, astronomy is accessible, that it's exciting, and you know, there's so much to it. But I'm always thinking it from a visual point of view. I'm never thinking it as, well, let's experience space with our ears and not our eyes, because I've never been able to fully grasp how someone could understand what they are seeing purely by using sound.
But let me tell you, that is a very good point, what you're bringing, because first we had optical telescopes, right? The optical telescopes developed by Galileo and what was the name of the other ones? I don't even remember. Kepler and those very ancient people. They had optical telescopes, but at some point after the telegraph, I don't know if you and the people connected are familiarized with the telegraph technology. Well, if we can call it technology, it was technology at that time, though. Yes, let's call it technology.
Okay.
The telegraph used to convey one message from one point to the other, right? And it would use a Morse code in order to convey a message from one point to the other. But the telegraph operators, they discovered that by listening to the beep, 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 beep of the Morse code, they were faster at transcribing the message. So before, the message would be transcribed into a piece of paper, and the Morse code operator had to translate that from Morse code to our way of writing and reading, etc. Then from that point, they said, well, I'm faster by listening. If I listen, I can identify the letters faster than waiting for that chunk of paper to just pushed out of the telegraph thing, be printed. So then the printing got completely substituted by listening. So that opened the way, the telegraph, right? So they were only listening now. That opened the way for the study of continuous wave transmission, because we were continuously transmitting a wave, and the wave was being transcribed. And guess what? The telephone was created. So we were transmitting a voice signal continuously over the whatever it is, over a wire, over wireless, or whatever it is. We were transmitting that wave, and you could hear it at the other side. You were transmitting sound. And the study of radio astronomy, which is really important in South Africa, 1940s, Jansky, listening, discovered that what they thought it was interference, it was due to the galactic background. And another guy in England, by listening, they discovered that it was due to atmospheric events and events that are happening around Earth, and an area around the Earth called the magnetosphere, which is an area that protects the Earth from the solar wind. So we were listening at some point, those events from outer space and atmospheric events, we were only listening, but people went back to looking at the events. because they needed a way to make sense of the events with all their senses. And what happened was that they forgot about listening to the events.
I like that. The fact that you make it very clear that actually listening is a very important part of it, and perhaps we should be focusing more on that skill than just taking the visual for granted.
And Steve, listening brought us to outer space. That is what brought us to outer space. See, to search for events in outer space. It was by listening, because it began with these people that found the galactic background, Whistler mode emissions, or resonances around the Earth, and it was just by listening.
Wow. So now I want to try and get a sense of, you're studying your BSc and everything's going well. You then do further additional studies and then they offer you a job to do what?
Let me see. I did my BSc and I did my master's. I did my PhD, and then I did my PhD. Then I did another one because I couldn't pay for that one. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I need to get.
Yes.
I need to get all of the facts.
So how much money do you need?
Like
we'll chat afterwards, because you never know. Maybe we can run a bingo evening. We can pay for it, no problem. And then you can get your other degree because you deserve it.
I can sell, I have thought on selling donuts in the traffic lights in Cape Town. I foresee that as a big business. I have admirers in Cape Town that will buy the donuts from me. So
I like that.
I got a job. First, I got a job in my first job after graduation. It was a 1-year fellowship at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. That is in Massachusetts, and it's an observatory. So I worked there the whole year, listening to something that is called light curves. A light curves is a measurement of the intensity of light. So that is what it is. It is a light. And curve, because we watch how those intensities of light change over time. And remember, I can't see light. So what I'm doing is I'm gathering the measurements of how the intensity of light over time, or light curves from distant stars, were changing.
And how first, before I even ask you how you do that, the first day you walked in on your job, you can imagine everyone standing around going, yeah, we've got a new astronomer coming to join us. And here she is. And you come with your white cane walking in, and they go, is this some sort of a joke? How is she going to be here and look at the stars if she can't see?
They were, my mentor made them ready. She's very, very, very good. Oh, she's amazing. I'm telling you, if there is an advice for the people listening, is find good mentors. You will find bad ones, but just leave those behind and just continue ahead and find good mentors.
And stick with the good ones.
She made them ready, and they were very, very, way embracing. So of course, you had a couple of them coming to ask, how do you do it? Can I do that too? Because they were wondering. They wanted also to use, they wanted and they want to use the sound also in order to listen to the measurements, because it increases your sensitivity to events that are blind to the eye. Does that make sense?
Okay, but now it does. I hear a lot of people tell me that when you are blind, all your other senses become almost super in ability. I mean, you can hear things from miles away with your supersonic hearing, and of course your sense of smell, which could also be a negative thing depending on who you're hanging around with. So, I mean, is it true that your other senses become more enhanced?
You compensate. It's not that they become more enhanced, but you compensate, right? And what happens is that you're paying attention to the stimuli or the signals that you get through your other senses. Like, for example, my dominant sense now is, as you said, my nose and my ears. I don't use my hands too much because I don't like, I'm Hispanic, and I don't like touching very much, but I'm too tidy. I'm too tidy. And so when I'm going to touch something, someone has to guarantee that it's completely clean. But my
Are you
dominant
saying that you're blind and OCD?
You both, yes, proudly.
I like that. I like it, because if you're Italian, your hands would be all over the place. But because you are Hispanic, you obviously, that's not your thing. I get that. I get that. So now you're obviously in this job. Your colleagues are thinking, okay, we're open to something new because this is not something that we're used to. You come along and say, right, where do I sit? And could someone please play me the sound of the universe so I can work out where we are? I mean,
I like that very much.
You hear music and you go, oh, that was someone's playing Jupiter. I mean, how do you start to even connect the sound with the various noises?
Well, there are things that are very clear in the measurements that we acquire, right? For example, if things are man-made, it means that they repeat, and they repeat in intervals that are very clear to the ear. For example, a song has rhythm, and those rhythms, that is what I'm talking about. That rhythm has a period of repetition. Yes. I don't remember the name of the science. It's called the harmonic expectation. So it keeps you listening because you're waiting for something.
Okay.
So if you get like that when you're listening to space science data, is not natural. It's completely man-made. So that is one of the things that I always have at the back of my head. I have a lot of experience doing this. So, for example, in these spacecrafts, you get electronics, and that amount of electronics, the electronics, when it is connected to something, it generates heat. It's electronics, right? Electricity it generates heat. Explaining it in this. The words that come to my mind, translating from my Spanish, it generates heat, and that generates a signal that I can withdraw from the measurements, and then remain with things that may repeat or not, but do not have periods that are easily identifiable. It means that I can relate certain periods or certain events with nature. And nature is not periodic. Nature is chaos. The beauty of nature is that nature, even though it feels very organized to sighted people, nature is very disorganized. It does whatever she wants, whenever she wants. That's why it's a she. Because, yes, and I love that. So I'm able to identify what is man-made or generated by the electronics. I'm able to identify that and just remain with what we call signal, which is what we think may be important or may have meaning in the information.
Wow. So, but now, who's to say that nature can't get it right and that there is repetition? Because people showing me a lot of mathematics in nature, and when we look at the golden ratio and we take a pine cone or a nautilus shell, or we look at a pineapple, we find the repetition in the patterns, almost like fractals. And if you were to say to me that nature is chaotic, I would say no. Look at this magnificent order and the patterns in nature. How is it not possible that nature didn't get it right in space?
It's not what I'm saying. Okay, don't confuse. I didn't say aperiodic. Don't confuse that with randomness.
Okay.
Yes. Random periods may show anywhere, Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you have 3 stars orbiting each other, and you don't know that a third star is orbiting those two. This is just a random example. Now that is
Okay.
random. This example is very random.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly you start noticing that there is random period showing up.
Yeah.
That is nature. Now, if it is a period that is not random, that feels that what is the opposite of randomness in English?
Organized.
Ah,
Structured, organized.
yes, organized. Then that is man-made. Like, for example, as I said before, the electronics of the satellites.
There's a high likelihood that it's probably woman-made if it was organized and man-made if it was disorganized, but that's another whole debate. So now you listen into these sounds, but now you must have started somewhere to build a frame of reference. You can't come along, sit down and go, that sounded a bit disorganized. I'm going to put that to being a galaxy. I mean, how did you know where to compare things to begin with?
Well, what I know is this, right? What I know is, for example, I go to the documentation of my devices. For example, if I'm using, there is a spacecraft called the Advanced Composition Explorer, which I use often, and I get my kids in when I teach, I get them to use it often. I know the noise or the clutter or the things that the electronics are adding to the data. So I know how to identify those. And sometimes I get a clean data stream, and I listen to it. So then, if one measurement brings embedded something that may be of importance, I know how to decompose that sound into perhaps different harmonics or notes, and then separate what note belongs to the noise and what note belongs to what I think may be of importance. But those are things that you need to calibrate your ear to. But then after a while, you get used to those periodicities. You get used to, and you start identifying it by you just turn it on and you just identify it by. You don't need even to calibrate your ear. Am I making sense, Steve?
You are. But now, do you get to a situation where you listen to something and someone gets to see an image of that same thing and you get to see things that they don't get to see?
Yeah, many times. I brought, I humbly did, what's the name? A TED Talk, right? And I showed them, it would have been good to have this for the participants. And I showed them.
I've actually got your photograph from the TED Talk featured on the screen. I'm busy sharing that photo on the screen.
So in that short talk that I had the opportunity to present, I showed them a graph, and I played the graph, right? And I showed them exactly where the sounds were playing, and they couldn't see. They couldn't disambiguate. But then I had to say, did you hear that? And then replay it again. Were you able to hear it? And then they said, yes. Well, then what you heard is not visible to the eye, as you have noted. So those things happen all the time. But it's not only to have that reference point, because that may work only for Wanda, because Wanda dominant sense is the ear. Is also to do careful experiments to test if this works for other people, if this is a human thing, if this is something that can be used by other humans to explore this information, if increases the sighted people's sensitivity to events in the information. So what Wanda did, once I began listening, I said, well, these astronomers, they're so smart. Why they don't have anything for people like me, blind people, to do the science? They're very smart. I know they did tests, and I know that they proved that blind people cannot do the astrophysics. I know they must have, because they're so smart. So, and I'm in my office, and I'm not afraid of saying it. They know, right?
Of course.
And they're very supportive, and they must be listening right now. So what I did is that I sought for information for all the publications, and nothing about, no tests, no nothing. And I did my own tests here, and I did it here at the Center for Astrophysics, where I am today. I did those tests, and I was testing, does sound increase helps these people to see better, or does sound does not help people to see better? Because if it doesn't work, then I discard it. Why do I want to use it if it doesn't help the sighted or the blind people?
Of course.
So I did some tests, and it happened that we found that sound does help by a big shot to spot things in the information that otherwise you wouldn't see.
Could you train a computer to do that?
If you program the computer, one of the things, if you program the computer to do machine learning, it would be very possible. If you have documented the listening strategies that that you will use for every data set, for everything that you're studying, your listening strategies may change, right? Because it's a different environment, it's a different phenomenon. Your listening strategies may change, but you will always need the human. You can't discard the human sensitivities, because we are trained from childhood, which a computer does not have. The computers that we have trained to do this, many times they find things that, yes, they're real, but many times, most of the time, they find things that are not real, and then that involved a real waste of time. When you involve the human senses, then the waste of time decreases a lot. There is lots less of uncertainty in the search for events in the information. To give you, I don't have any example. I'm trying to retrieve an example, and it's not coming to mind, but I will remember before we finish. Yes.
No, that's no problem. So now, I mean, I'm always fascinated by the fact that you've got all these smart people around you. You come in and you're listening to things that they're looking at, and hopefully with better technology and better telescopes, with the new telescope that's going to be launched quite soon, the James Webb telescope?
James Webb, yes.
Yeah, that's going to be launched soon. That's going to give them a lot of additional information. But then, of course, we've got SKA going online at some point.
Yes.
You obviously connect very well with radio telescopes instead of normal telescopes. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Can you imagine what are you going to do with all the extra sound when SKA goes on live?
No, when SKA will get an amount of information that I think, not we, because I work at the Office of Astronomy for Development, right? But I know that the South African Astronomical Observatory is very close to the SKA. Not only by distance, because I can walk to the. Is it in the Pinelands? I can walk to the Pinelands.
It is in Pinelands, but they work closely together.
Yes, but we work close together. But the amount of information the SKA will gather, they still figuring out, working out how the computers will manage that amount of information. And you may know about this better than me.
I do. I know that when we spoke to them, they said that they're going to have to invent technology,
yes,
just to store that number of gigabytes, terabytes, whatever, I don't know what bytes they're going to be calling it, but they're going to be storing vast amounts of information, and they don't even have a system to capture and store all of that on a daily basis. They're going to have to invent that.
Which is really exciting, and it will require humans to come and how do another word for disambiguate. Disambiguate is to humans
to unravel, to simplify.
Yes, humans to come and unravel using their senses, using their intuition, which is very important in the study of this, of these signals. So the humans, I can train a computer, but also we have to train humans in order to be able to do this, because you want to be able, you have questions. That is what makes you a scientist. That is what makes you a human being, that you have questions. Human beings are explorers. You go to the supermarket and you explore the labels for the best prices and for the ingredients. You're always exploring. And in order to explore, you need to decompose the information that you're receiving into its different and most simple modes. And in order to decompose that amount of information into its simplest modes, it will require technology, but it will also require human power.
But now I'm quite curious, because you're speaking as someone who obviously works with other astronomers, and you say that, you know, you're trying to also benefit other blind people. How many other blind astronomers are there? I mean, you can't have a huge club where you meet on a monthly basis and, yeah, let's all go for drinks. I mean, are you the only one?
So far, well, no, I'm not the only one. So far, I'm the only one. But there is a gentleman in Australia who is totally blind, is Wanda, right? Because I can't read, I can't orientate, because I have a solar eclipse. It's the only eye where I can perceive some light.
Okay.
But there are two that are partially blind. The two are men. One is in Australia, and the other one is in the UK. They're working very hard. There is a PhD student in Spain, and also we had a master's student here in the United States. But I think that she took a little bit of time off from her studies. And what we want to do, this is part of what I do at the Office of Astronomy for Development, is that we need to make the field a welcoming field that will only require for people to set their mind to it in order for them to be able to do it. So astronomy should be a field. It will become, and it's not that it should, it will become a field where people with impairments can work, but it will be a field where disabilities will not exist.
That is fantastic. Well, I mean, you're almost like a pioneer in the sense that, you know, you're really trying to empower everyone. And I know that one of my colleagues, Mr. McNulty's group in the US, is going to be joining in the Hangout a couple of minutes. And we're going to be doing some experiments with you to see how good you are. I'll save the little sound clip for a little bit later, which I've got on my phone to play, so that people can actually hear what it is that you listen to. So,
yes.
I mean, I'm still trying to get over the fact that you use technology, that you do all the things that you want to do. So can you give us a brief understanding how you are sending me text messages, how you are responding to my emails so quickly, and how when I asked you to get onto a Google Hangout, which I'm assuming this is your first Google Hangout.
Yes, the very first one. Yes, very
Your
good.
very first one. And most people who use a Mac struggle to get on, and we normally just get them on in the last minute or so. and here you are able to compensate and do all of that. What is it that you're doing that allows you to do that?
Well, I'm very grateful that I live in an era, in a time, in an age where we have the technological advances that other people have worked really hard in order to make it possible for how you call it, accessible technology to exist. So I use something that is called a screen reader, and you may be hearing it right now. Do you hear it?
Well, now we're going to have to get our ears. We're going to have to train our ears because I'm
you
looking.
Are currently on the option.
There we
Room tab button. Wanda switch person button. Google Hangouts web content. You are currently on web content. To enter the web area, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
I had to turn on the speaker in order to get that. So I know that I can talk loud to you for a while, but I can't have many voices because my office mates may say, Wanda, you know, and they will not complain, but they will tell me to be aware that they do exist. So we have screen readers, we have Braille, which is the tactile format of the letters that we use to read. So there are no reason for us to be illiterate, or for us not to be able to use the technology. The technology has to be properly built. See, most of the technology is built having as the center the purpose of, for example, the application. It doesn't have at the center the user. If, for example, Google Hangouts would have a Wanda at the center, Google Hangouts will take into consideration that blind people search sequentially. They do not do that all the time. Sometimes you can find that, sometimes you don't. But at least, even when we struggle a lot in order to navigate to wherever we need using the technology, we are able to do it. There is no reason for us to be illiterate or for us to be left behind.
But now, I mean, I'm obviously, because I'm quite excited about technology, I see new apps are being developed all the time, and you probably know about TapTapCC, and you probably know about some of the others as well, where you literally shine your camera at something, you focus it on something, and it takes a picture, searches the internet database, and tells you exactly what you're looking at.
Yes, isn't that great?
I mean, it's phenomenal. But now, what would happen if you could have almost like Google glasses, and then all of a sudden it is connected to the internet, and it has a very fast processor, and it actually narrates like your screen reader does. It narrates as you're walking down the road, there's a person on your left, there's a person on your right. I mean, it would be like having a guide right next to you. Like
having a guide dog.
I mean, that's not difficult technology to make.
Well, it's it depends on. This is what happens with this technology, right? For example, I like to run. I love running. But then to synchronize that technology with my pace, that is the cumbersome. The cumbersome part, because if there is a pole coming or I'm approaching a tree, I need to know with at least 5 seconds. I don't know, because I need to avoid the tree. If the technology tells me 1 second ahead that there is a tree, excuse me, I'm going to bang my head again. Does that make sense?
I've got a solution for you. Go jogging with me, and if it works at my pace, then you'll know about the tree 30 minutes before we even get there.
I will do that when I get to Cape Town, Steve.
Cool. We've got a lot of people who are watching this live. So to all our live viewers, thank you for joining us. And I know that Mr. McNulty's group have just joined us as well. And I thought we were going to do a test on
Yes,
Mr.
let's do
McNulty's group and Wanda. And I have with me some coins. Wanda cannot see the coins, but Mr. McNulty, your group can. So I'm going to switch the screen sharing off because I just had a picture of Wanda. Okay. This coin over here is a 2 rand coin. It's got a picture of a buck on it. Can you see that? That's a 2 rand. Listen to what it sounds like when it hits the computer. I'll do that again. Did you hear that? Wanda, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, well, one more time, one more time. Okay, this is a 1 rand coin. Much smaller. And this is what it sounds like. I'll do it again. Now, I don't know about you, but Wanda, did you hear a difference in the sounds?
Yes, the bigger is sharpened. Is the pitch is a little bit higher. The bigger coin, the 2
And of
rand
course,
coin.
Mr. McNulty's group, did you hear a difference in sound?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you just saying that. Well, now we're going to put you to the test because I have these 2 coins. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off my webcam. I'm just going to share the screen of Wanda again. And here is the picture. Right. So you can't see which coin I'm choosing. And you're going to have to vote. Is it 1 rand or 2 rand? Here goes the first coin. I'll do it again.
Hold on.
Vote. Who says? Yeah, put up a hand if you think it's 1 rand.
1 rand. Put up your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who thinks it's 2 rand?
Ooh, a lot more. 1, 2,
A lot more.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, so clearly 2 rand was a popular choice. Wanda, what did you think it was?
Throw the other one.
Must I throw the other one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll throw the other one. I'll do that again.
It was a 2 rand.
Which one? Which one?
The
first
second
one or
one.
the second one?
The second one.
The second one? So that means the
Yes.
first one I dropped was the 1 rand. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
So Wanda says I dropped the 1 rand. And how many people in your class voted 1 rand, Mr. McNulty?
Where's my 1 rand, guys? That was 5.
Well, they obviously either are very good guesses or their hearing is as sharp as Wanda's.
Well,
That is amazing. But now I'm going to really test you. I have more than 1 coin in my hand. I'm not going to say how many I have. And I'm going to drop them. And I want to see if you guys can hear how many coins there are. So are you listening?
we're ready.
Okay. Ready? I'll do that again. I'll do that again. How many coins did you hear bouncing on the table?
Show me some fingers here. How many do you think you heard? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3. Okay. How many people said 3 coins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many people said 4 coins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many said 5 coins? 1, 2. All right, there's my breakdown.
Okay, Wanda, how many do you think it was?
Throw it again for me.
Okay,
From the same height.
I'll do it from the same height. Okay.
There are about 6 coins there.
You think there are 6 coins?
There are about 6 coins there.
Who do you think was right? I'll tell you after the commercial break.
Okay.
So now we'll come back to that and I will reveal the answer soon. But now that we've got Mr. McNulty's group there and a whole bunch of viewers, one of the things we're talking about is sounds in space, because Wanda listens to the universe. She doesn't see the universe because she is blind. And I asked Wanda, could you give me a sound sample of what it is that you actually listen to? And then maybe we can try and picture what that would be. So I'm going to play one for you. And Wanda, you'd be able to identify what it is quite quickly.
Yes.
So let's just see if my phone is working. Could you hear that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what was that sound? My first guess was a grade 1 marimba recital, but clearly that obviously wasn't the case. Do you guys want to take a guess what perhaps that sound represented?
What do you think that was? Well, I got someone saying stars. It sounded like a ringtone from Samsung to me, but... What? Any other guesses? A meteor shower is another guess we have.
That's beautiful. Thank you for saying that.
Wow.
Any other guesses? Somebody just said rain.
Rain?
Oh, beautiful.
Or maybe it was Wanda playing the fool with us and just playing random sounds and then testing to see if we're going to think it's something. But now, Wanda, what is that sound?
You didn't play it complete, right? You just played the
No, I
chunk of
didn't.
it.
And you obviously could tell that because you knew from all those random sounds
Yes,
that it wasn't
yes.
even finished yet.
So what you heard is what we call the baseline, right? This is the amount of material in the space within the planets being detected by a radio telescope, and this happens just before my telescope detects a spiral galaxy. And so those tones going up and down is the amount of hydrogen in the interstellar, we call it the interstellar media. I don't know if that word is familiar to you. It's a space within the planets. That is the amount of hydrogen, the tones going up and down. But when the tones go higher, it means that the amount of hydrogen is augmenting, is increasing the amount of hydrogen. So one of the elements that is most abundant in these galaxies is hydrogen. So what I do is that I tune my radio telescope to the frequency to detect hydrogen. I tune my radio telescope, and then I wait for those intensities to increase. So I will hear the tones increasing. I will also hear when the center of the galaxy is passing through, and in the center of the galaxy, because it's more dense, it's harder for you to get the emission of hydrogen, right? And so the level of the intensity will decrease just a little bit, just a chunk, little bit, and then it will increase again, because then it's the second part of the galaxy passing through the area where my telescope is detecting. Yes, yes.
So
can we? Yeah.
Are you using a regular telescope that then translates into those sounds?
No, I use a regular telescope. It's a radio telescope. So
it's a radio telescope.
You can see, you can glue your eye, no glue. You can stick your eye into the eyepiece of the telescope and look at the thing, but you will get the intensity of light being emitted by the hydrogen in the galaxy. And
must have played a little bit more.
Play the whole thing. Play the whole thing for them. Thank you, Steve. There we have it.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, I heard the grade 2 solo. That was amazing. That child was obviously paying attention in class and got hold of those sticks and gave it a good beating.
That was not me playing.
No, definitely not. Now, Mr. McNulty, do any of your students have any questions they want to ask?
Do you guys have any questions? You come on up.
Come on up. Don't be shy. Wanda doesn't bite.
Come on, Noah. You're curious. Go ahead and introduce yourself and go ahead and have a question. The camera's over here, by the way.
Noah. Noah. I just want. When did she become blind? Like what age?
You want age? I will tell you how long ago, but I will not tell you.
Wanda is technically 21 years old, and she's been like that for a while. So how many years ago did you lose your sight?
I'm 21 years old, and I lost my sight when I was and I lost my sight 21 years ago. So I may be about 43 years old now. That is when I lost my sight.
Come on up.
Before you get there, did they make the movie with Jodie Foster? Was that about you? There was a guy who was in the movie. Did you ever see that movie? Well, I mean, when I say see the movie, I mean, how do you watch movies?
I hear them. And that movie was Dr. Kent Coolers, who was a blind physicist.
And is he based on a real character?
Yes, Dr. Kent Coolers. I think he lives in New Zealand or something. He worked on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence program for a very long time, the SETI program. You may find information about him, but he's way retired, and I've never been able to get in touch with him. But it was not based on me. No.
I'll see if I can make a plan. Now there's another question for you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Hunter. I want to know, do you want to be an astronomer? What do you say?
Astronomer.
Do you want to be an astronomer before you were blind or after?
Before. Thank you so much for that question. That's very important. I wanted to be an astronomer long before, and I never gave up. That is the difference. That I didn't give up. Circumstances did not take ownership over my life, and I will never allow that to happen. It's up to you.
But now the work that you're doing a lot of developmental work as well.
Yes.
And through that work, you are empowering young students to go into astronomy. What do you need to study to become an astronomer?
You need a lot of mathematics. You need to know a lot of mathematics, which is really important, and that is why I praise Steve a lot. Mathematics, and also you need to learn how to observe quietly. Observe, and now we are learning to listen. So those are very important skills. Develop the sensitivity to look at a graph and know what that graph is telling you. It's not a special skill. Anyone can do it if you dedicate your heart to it. But that is of utmost importance, the mathematics.
Is astronomy a job of passion, or do people become wealthy becoming astronomers?
It's a job of passion. It's a job of passion. Kids, if you think that you will become wealthy by becoming an astronomer, I am so sorry to tell you that you will become really happy because you will be doing something that you love, that is fun to do. But sometimes you have to count your pennies to take the bus to go to the next corner, but it's worth doing because your mind will be free. You are able to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it.
And in terms of, all the new discoveries, Cassini ending its journey soon in, I think it's September sometime.
Yes.
And of course, New Horizons flying past Pluto. All these new things, is this bringing back information for you that now, you've got a shopping trolley of things you still have to listen to that is going to open up a whole new world for you?
As soon when I heard data the first time being converted into sound, it already opened a whole new world of possibilities for me. I was losing my sight, and I was trying to think, I'm a physicist, what am I gonna do? And then a friend of mine, he said, Wanda, come and listen to this. And I went and I listened to what he had, and I said, oh, this is the way. Because by listening to what he was playing, he didn't know this, but I heard a lot of things in the data that he was unaware of. So that
Wow.
moment, yes. And now it's my turn to repay that, to open the way for others.
And do you nurture and mentor young kids who are blind to
Yes.
follow in your footsteps?
Yes, I do.
Tell us about that.
I go to perhaps the kids already know. Do they know about the Athlon School for the Blind?
No, they don't know much about South Africa, so you get a chance to tell them.
Okay, so the Athlon School for the Blind is in Cape Town, and it's a school that gathers kids that are blind and with multiplicity of disabilities, but mainly blind with multiplicity of disabilities. And there I go and I teach them to do data analysis. We gather data from telescopes. We learn how to listen to the data. And 2 weeks ago, I was in a purely scientific meeting presenting some techniques that we have developed in order to search for life in extrasolar planets. So that is very good because it's opening also a whole world of opportunities to my children.
Wow, that is amazing. I must just tell you that when Wanda was in Cape Town, and for those of you that are listening, Wanda is actually in Boston at the moment, which is not too far away from you, Mr. McNulty.
Now we're right outside of Philadelphia.
So, I mean, you're like, what, about 2-3 hours drive?
7.
Round it off to the nearest 7? You see, America's so big, what can I say? But if you round it off to the nearest 7, then it is 7, yes.
Yes.
And when Wanda comes down to South Africa, she managed to twist my arm to do a maths show for the Athlon School for the Blind. And I must just tell you, I've never had such fun working with people doing a maths show where you can't rely on the visual. You have to rely on auditory, and I also discovered that blind people have an incredible sense of humor. They love jokes. Oh boy, did we laugh!
And they keep remembering. You know, they keep saying, "When are you bringing him? When are you bringing him?"
So when are you coming back to Cape Town?
I will be there in August. And I will be teaching at the school, so you must come and visit us.
So I will definitely come and join you. And on Monday, I'm actually going up to Durban to do a math show for the deaf students. So they are not going to be auditory, they're going to be completely visual.
Yes.
So I have to now work out what I'm going to do that they'll be able to get the sign language interpreters to obviously explain. And I also need to learn to slow down because you know me, I get a little bit excited.
Keep in mind, I'm sorry I'm interrupting. Keep in mind that some of the scientific words do not exist in sign language. So I'm glad that you're going to talk to the sign interpreters to make sure that they can translate, they can use the signature to convey
that is a very important message. I will definitely think about that because I always tell my students that when I'm explaining something in class, if they don't get it, it's not their fault, it's mine because I didn't explain it properly. And obviously if the terminology doesn't exist, then I have to find a creative way to get the interpreter to explain the concept I'm trying to get across.
Yes, for example, you know, we call when a wave bounces from a mirror. We call that a spectra. We call that a spectral index. You know, the wave bounces, so it changes the trajectory, it changes the direction, and it bounces back. Or that word spectra or spectral index, it doesn't exist in sign language. So we need to find alternate ways. So the sign language interpreter does not have to spell the word and can follow the whole sentence. And also that the kid or the person that is reading the signature will not lose the sense of the sentence.
Wow. So Wanda, are you going to be working on the first visual dictionary for deaf students on explaining astronomy to them?
You know what? What you're saying is very close to my heart. The Office of Astronomy for Development is already working on that now. This is language develops in a natural way. And what we have been discussing is we are trying to create words, and we don't have the deaf community involved. They have to feel the need. It has to emerge the need for them to need to create these words in their language, to have these words and it's by doing what you are doing, outreaching for them, getting them excited about astronomy and about physics. There is only one teacher that I know that is doing this in the United States, and is at Yerkes Observatory, and she's collaborating on creating the sign language. But there are so many languages. The world is so vast and immense, and we need signage in English, in Cossack. We need we need in Bulgarian, in Spanish. Yes.
Wow.
You should.
That is amazing.
As you're so good outreaching and doing your science, you should collaborate in this, creating excitement in the deaf community.
Well, just watch this space. It's going to start happening on Monday. You're going to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. Yes. So now I want to just give Mr. McNulty, is there anyone in your class that wants to ask one more question?
Were there any more questions? Come on over. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Yeah.
All right. I'm Justin. I was wondering, how does she remember all the patterns for the different
sounds?
Different sounds.
Ask Wanda. Ask her. You don't have to ask me. Wanda can hear you.
Well, that's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking. Sometimes I know what kind of pattern my satellite will produce. Like, for example, if I open the shower, or I open the sink, and you're listening to the water coming out of the sink, or you listen to the water coming out of the shower, you can identify this is the shower or that is the sink if your eyes are blinded. Most of the time, I know what kind of a noise my devices will produce, and then that helps me to differentiate those that kind of, I would call it noise, I would call it clutter. That kind of clutter creates from the noise or the patterns that may be of importance and that may have some physical meaning.
Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense?
That question is very
that was
important.
A great question. Great question. Well, I know that we've run a little bit over time, but I want to just thank Wanda so much. For those of you wondering why Wanda's camera is not showing, Wanda, can I tell them?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
So obviously, one of the occupational hazards of being blind is apparently you can't see. And that is a slight disadvantage to people who can. And Wanda had a little incident involving a fall. And she cushioned the fall with her head on the treadmill, and sadly, it was 1 treadmill and 0 to Wanda's head. Apparently, is that correct?
Yes, and I do apologize for that. If we have a next one, I will have the camera on. I'm too how you call that?
She's a little self-conscious, and I get that.
Yes.
But you know what, Wanda? Sadly, they've had to look at my face, and they can't unsee that. So I think that of all the disabilities that we can talk about and being self-conscious, these children are now going to be scarred for life anyway. But I just want to say thank you so much for giving up of your time. I know that you are a very busy person. You're an amazing astronomer. She's an amazing educator. And if you've watched her TED Talk, you will know she's a great speaker. English is not her first language. But Wanda is a phenomenal person. And we are so looking forward to your return back to Cape Town in August. And we will definitely do a return visit to the Athlone School for the Blind. And we'll do something completely different that they've never seen before. So I'll have to start dreaming up something new and exciting for our next visit.
Let's do that. And
Cool.
thank you to the children and to the teacher that connected. And Steve, first thing I will do when I land in South Africa is to go and see you. So
Excellent.
be ready. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. And I'm gonna stop the broadcast here.